everyone. Thanks a lot for coming. Wow, we've got a full house today. It's very exciting. So yeah, I'm Hilla. I'm VP Product UX at Zamingo. And Zamingo Mobile Group is a service house, but we work a lot like a product company in the sense that we do the full product lifecycle, which means product, UX, UI, development, marketing for mobile applications. And being both a product company and a service house allowed us in the past couple of years to look at the product and UX position and develop a new methodology and reinvent, in our perspective, the product UX position. And what I'd like to do with you today in the next 15 minutes that I have with you is share the new product UX work process that we've developed and how we came to develop it. So it all started a couple of years ago at Yellowtail, our UX UI studio. And as a UX UI studio, we work with a lot of startups, and some of them are not, they're not so much into UX and UI, they don't know a lot about it. And the question that we came across most often is, what the heck is the difference between UX and UI? I'm sure there are a lot of UXers in the room. I'm sure you all be millionaires if you had $1 for every time you heard this question, right? But what was interesting to us is that it raised, in-house, it raised a more burning and interesting question to us, is what is the difference between UX and product? And not so much what the difference is, but where does UX and product begins? Where do they merge? So we went ahead and we started looking into this. So to look into that, we looked into all the startups that we worked with, and we wanted to really see where the product and the UX position, how it evolves in a startup evolution story, in the average Israeli startup. So we looked at the Israeli startup evolution story, and after working, like Ran said, I've been mentoring at Google Launchpad for the past 4 years, and I met with a lot of startups, dozens of startups. And I came to realize that about, I think, 80% of Israeli startups look pretty much the same. So they start with 3 guys, they're buddies, and one is a tech guy, they're founders of a company. The other one is a tech guy, and the third one, you guessed it, is a tech guy as well. So the 3 tech guys, they're buddies, and they say, wow, I have an idea for $1 billion company, gonna change the world, and they start coding. And they code away, and they say, okay, now we're developing a product, and we need to start a company. So one of them says, okay, I'll be CEO, the other one says, okay, I'll be CTO, and the third one says, okay, I'll be CMO. And they go ahead and they raise some pre-seed funding so they can go ahead and hire some more dev power, some dev ninjas in order to help them code and to develop the product further. So they keep on developing the product, but now they have to show their investors that they're doing well, that they're driving revenues, and that they're scalable. So they use their revenues and they hire a couple of sales rock stars. They're doing well, they're selling, they're showing progress, but people are telling them, your idea is really cool, but your product looks really, really bad. It's really ugly. So they have no other choice, and they hire a UI freelancer in order to put some color in their product and to make it look really shiny and nice. And they also hire a UX freelancer because, well, they're not really sure why, but people tell them that they need it, so they do it because so they can tell their investors, yeah, I have a UXer on board with me. So they do that. And then they raise, they're doing well, so they raise some more money, and they hire a bunch of other people, finance, sales, marketing, etc. So their operations is getting bigger. They have a lot of developers, so they need someone to bring some order into all this dev power that they have. So, hallelujah, they now hire their first product manager in order to manage all this development effort that's going on. And now they keep going on, years go by, a couple of years, they hire a bunch of other people, and usually after about 2-3 years, they get to employee number 50 and whoo-hoo, it's a UX expert. When actually employee number 50 is an optimist view. Usually it's around 100, and I can be totally honest and tell you that I've met with a lot of startups that have over 100 and 200 employees that don't even have a UXer on board, but that's another story. I'll put that aside. But when we look at, at this story and we look at the evolution, and this is, it sounds funny, but this is the reality of most Israeli startups, then we can understand how it comes to be that most hierarchies of Israeli startups look something like this. So we have business marketing, we have R&D, we have all these departments parallel to each other. Then we have product parallel to them. And then when this employee number 50 or number 100 comes along, the UXer, which is kind of an odd creature to them, they're like, oh, where do we put them in the company, in the org chart? And say, okay, we'll put them under the product manager. It makes sense. And what happens with that is that when the UXer it actually is below the product manager, is under the product manager and answers to them. And that's just the way it is. And we'll look at, the result of that a little bit later in the presentation. But that's actually not the so bad scenario. The even worse scenario is when it looks like this. The employee number 15 goes under the R&D, and then usually the CTO, and then the UXer is under them. And that's a whole different problem that, again, I will not get into right now, but I'm sure you all know how problematic that could be. So this is the position that UX and product take in an average Israeli startup. But we wanted to look deeper into exactly, what the tasks and what it means to be a product and UX in an Israeli startup. So, okay, I'm sure you all know, you're all product and UXers, you know what is a product manager and what is a UX expert. But just for, humor me, I looked into the definitions of both roles, and I'd like to share that with you. So, according to Wikipedia, and I've looked a lot of resources online, they all say pretty much the same thing. The product manager's role, the software product manager leads and manages one of several products from the inception to phase out in order to maximize business value. He works with marketing, sales, engineering, finance to make the product a business success. So as we can see, according to this description, to this definition, the emphasis here on that the product manager is responsible for the business goals of the company and of the product, and working across the organization and the different departments. When we look at the UX expert's role, user experience design, the definition is the process of enhancing user satisfaction with a product by improving the usability, accessibility, and pleasure provided in the interaction with the product. So here we see the difference. Here the emphasis is on the user. Before the emphasis was on the business goals, and now the emphasis is on the user, value given to the users, the user needs, and the user satisfaction. So it's a niche of the product. Right now, I'd like to play a short game I like to call, what am I, product or UX? Okay, so what am I, UX or product? I'll present to you a few characters. They'll present themselves, and you get to decide what are their role in the organization. Are they UX or product? So this is Sharon, and she says, I work with the UI designer to approve the dev-ready screens. So raise your hands or just shout out, is Sharon UX or product? This is Tom. I interview users to decide what the next feature is going to be. This is Anna. I request data in order to decide how to change a form design to increase conversion. Okay, so as we can see, the answers are not conclusive. So there's a lot of overlap and there's a lot of vagueness, and there are a lot of similar tasks that relate to the product position and the UXer's position. And this is why, at Zamingo, we came to create the position of the product UX expert. The product UX expert is a merge of these two positions. And then you can see it's an odd animal. It's a unicorn. It has a lot of capabilities. It has to hold the capabilities both of a product manager and a user experience expert, which means that the product UX expert is responsible both for answering user needs and business needs on the same level. So he's responsible for both, and he's responsible, or she's responsible for balancing those two requirements on those two needs, always making sure that both are being answered. And I can show you an example for that if we look at LinkedIn. So when we look at LinkedIn, if we look at the user needs, the main user need for a person using LinkedIn is grow and maintain a vital professional network. So this is when I use LinkedIn, this is my biggest need. I have other small needs, but this is my biggest need. The business need of LinkedIn is to grow revenues from recruiters and advertisers. So this is LinkedIn's business model, and this is what they're looking at. So now when we look at a company that has UX expert and product managers, it all comes to the end of who makes the decision of what the roadmap of the product is going to be like. And in most companies, it's the product manager. They're the ones who make the decision. They make the prioritization of what is more important what is more important. So if we look, for example, at two features, one of them that comes to answer that user need of growing the professional network, and that feature is ways to keep in touch. It's a feature that I'm sure you're all aware of that has been rolled fairly recently in LinkedIn, and that allows you to congratulate someone on their new job or an anniversary or so forth. And the UX expert, I don't work at LinkedIn, but I can imagine the UX expert at LinkedIn sitting down after doing some research and talking to the product managers and the other team and telling them, this feature is really, really important to the user. It's going to give them emotional value when someone, that they haven't spoken to in a while, or someone they appreciate professionally connects with them and congratulates them that something happened. It's really going to give value to the user. But then the biz dev and the product managers are going to say, yeah, but it doesn't help the recruiters. It doesn't help, with any of our business needs. So let's look at another feature that we have standing by on the backlog, and that's recommendations. So recommendations, that's a feature that's nice for the users because people are recommending, but it's really, really nice. It's a real tool for recruiters because it's going to help them, recruit people for new jobs. So it meets our business need. It gives value to our business needs. And now we can see how the decision is made that the recommendation feature was rolled out years ago. I think it was almost 10 years ago. And the ways to keep in touch only rolled out recently because the product manager had more power of decision making over the UX. Now if we look at the product UX expert, so this is a company, a different company, a company that I worked with, a startup that I worked with, that developed a smart toy for babies, which helped a mother monitor her baby's development through the smartphone and her baby playing with a toy. And the user need of the mom was obviously to monitor her baby's development. She wanted to know, to look at the screen of the smartphone and to see that her baby is developing well according to all the steps and all, everything she's read, and their baby is doing great, even above average, and she has the perfect baby. That's her need. The business need of the company, and that's a requirement that I got from marketing and from business of that startup, is that they wanted to make the mother know how great the toy she bought is. They wanted to really emphasize, that was a marketing need. They wanted to emphasize, look at how great we are with making toys. So they wanted to put articles, and they wanted to, put statistics and graphs and, things that really showed how great the toy is. And it took a lot of work from my part to explain to them, you see, this is your need. This is not the user need. And in my perspective, only with the product UX position, I was actually able to tell them, okay, UX here, with this specific decision comes first. And the product decision, you will meet your business needs, but it will happen a little bit later. Where it's not that we're ignoring it, it's all a matter of prioritization. Let's first give the mother her satisfaction with her baby, and then a little bit later, you'll meet your business needs, and it's going to work out great. And that's the power of combining those two positions. Now, when we have the product UX position, we've developed a process to match that position. So we have both the product tasks and the UX tasks, and we have to merge them and to create a process that helps that expert work well and really bring value to the product. And we call that process OCD. And yeah, we're a little obsessed with product and UX, but that's not the only reason it's called OCD. It stands for objective, concept, and design, which are the three main stages of that work process. Well, objective, what we actually do with this stage is what I've been talking about for the past 5 or 10 minutes, is we actually define what the objective of that product that we're developing is. So we define the business objective by interviewing stakeholders, interviewing marketing, really understanding what our business objective is and what the KPIs are, how we're going to measure if it's a success, a business success or not. And we define who our target user is and what their needs are by using known UX methodologies, user interviews, user observation, conducting market research, all the methodology I'm sure you're all aware of. And after we define these two needs, they are actually now gonna be our guiding light for the entire product lifecycle. So now for the product UX expert, whenever a question comes along of which feature comes first, how do we market this application? What's our messaging? What do we write on the App Store? How do we even design the package of the product if it's a physical product? Then we'll always go back and see how this decision is going to answer the business need or the user needs, and that's how we make the decision. After defining these two needs, we move on to concept. With concept, we take the use cases and the needs that we've defined, and we translate it into prioritized feature list. So prioritization here is key. We decide what's going to be on the MVP. Again, that's going to meet both user needs and business objective. At the end, and that's a really important point, at the end, for a product to be successful, and I'm sure you can all think of a lot of products, it must meet both needs. If it only meets the business needs and not the user, and it doesn't give value to the user, in the end it's going to fail, and vice versa. It always has to meet both needs and simultaneously. And that's what we do with the prioritized feature list and roadmap. Then we start designing the concept. We do concept validation, which is another methodology that I can talk to for about an hour, but I'll leave that aside for now. So we validated the concept, and then we move on to design, prototyping, usability testing, screen design, and a dev-ready spec. While we do that, actually while we're in the design stage, we start building the product. And again, this is all managed by the product UX expert. So all the interaction with the development and all the decisions that need to be made during the development, user stories, they're all conducted and being led by the product UX expert. We test and we go back to a minimized version of the OCD, and then we go again. That's the loop of the product UX work cycle. So what I'd like for you to take from this today is that there are a lot of product managers and even more UX experts here, and I think that we should all be unicorns. All the product should also be UX, and all the UX should also be product, and we should all look at the business needs and the user needs on the same level in order to really create user-centered products and successful products. So good luck, and thanks a lot. This is my email.
My question is actually, I knew that product and UX is a separate role and a whole other kind of expertise. But where I come from, we first start with a product UX guy who does them both. So how come, let's say, evolution-wise, how come there are two different roles, and how come you're suggesting to combine it to one, where I see it starts with one and then splits to two as the company grows?
Historically, how did it came to be that it was split into two different positions? What he was saying is that from his experience, he works with the product UX. So first of all, great for you. I mean, it's really great. From my experience, especially in companies. With freelancers, it's a little different, but in companies, it's very, very rare in the sense that I don't know of, well, I searched on LinkedIn, I didn't find one product UX position in Israel. I found a few in the United States, but it doesn't exist in Israel at all. And if you work with a product UX, that's great. And from, the question that I asked before, I see that a lot of you do consider yourselves product and UX, and that's great. What I was saying before is that what I really like is for that position to be something that's widely spread. And it's not just, freelancers and people say, yeah, I do product and UX, but my title is... I really want this to be a common thing in organizations, and the UXers will be brought to the table, to the, higher in the pyramid of the hierarchy that we saw before, and they will, be brought to the table of decision making of what the roadmap is, and that's really the way to create user-centered design. So that, hope that answers your question. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Hilla.